everyone, welcome back to Remote Work Bay. I have Jessica from Jagged with me here today. Jessica, thank you so much for being a part of my podcast. Could you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and your story?
Sure. I've been open with this studio since 2013. Official opening date 2014. It's been a little bit over 6.5 years. We've grown from only having 2 members to I think somewhere over 60 to 70. And we have a bunch of aerial classes, a bunch of alternative fitness, not something you would find in your normal gym, but everything in the air or using some of the equipment you see in the backgrounds. For fitness classes, we have people like yourself doing flexibility and acro yoga. As far as aerial, we do aerial yoga, silks, pole, aerial hoops, steer wheel, which nobody really has. And we also rent the space for shoots. We have people coming in to rent for rehearsals. It's been a very multi-purpose space over the years, whether it's for after-school programs renting or performance rehearsals or video shoots. So we've kind of become this whole community over the years. And sadly, we have been shut down since March. So it's been really a tough time here in LA. And, consequently, a lot of the businesses that were using our space have gone out of business. Some of them, either we can't use the space or they're sort of waiting to figure out how they're going to start again. So we're all in the same boat. And it's been a very interesting time, a very challenging time. Nobody's encountered this before. It's already difficult to own a studio in the first place and make sure we can just pay our rent, keep the lights on, have a functioning staff all the time, making sure that people are taken care of. And to go from all of that and just struggling with the basics and coming so far after 6.5 years to where I'm finally in a good place and things are getting better and more efficient, to then just being shut down without any control over it is really, really tough. But we are finding ways to try to work around it, which is, the whole theme of your podcast.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about how you've had to pivot your business, because I know you were closed for a little bit and then now you're trying to pick it back up, but how?
Yes. So because it's simply not safe and we're given, very little information, the only way we could think of to do something safe would be to take all our classes online. So within, I would say, a week, we had it up in 2 days and we started classes the following week from the day we were shut down. And let me just say, the day we shut down, we found out at 9 p.m. the night before and it was done. Like no warning, no nothing to give us any kind of sign that this was going to happen. So we're in West Los Angeles, and once we started doing the online classes, it was just a race to figure out the technology. We decided to go with Zoom as the platform, but there's a bunch of different platforms out there. So we quickly made a plan. We definitely struggled just figuring out the basics like everybody is right now, like audio, how do we get the best video quality, and especially because we're using music a lot, how do we communicate with the students and not have things in the background or a lag time. And it's still not perfect. We have found Ethernet cords are great. Some people will even use their phone and log in twice. So they have their phone doing the video, which is a lot more clear. And then they have audio from their computer. So just all these little things and trying to train the instructors. Obviously, we are not making a lot of money. We had to keep the prices really low because it's simply not the same as an in-person experience. And for me personally, with my members that are paying a flat rate for monthly classes, I wanted to give them unlimited access. So it's really just to keep the clients satisfied and to keep us all going in the meantime. I didn't think of it as such a permanent solution, but it has become an unending situation. So creating this online class instead of just being able to convert, which is also difficult given that we use a lot of equipment, has been a challenge. And I just thought, we're just going to be doing this for, maybe a few months at max, and then we can just go back to what we were doing. But as time has gone on, I've realized we're going to have to keep the online classes, I think, after we do open, because it's just, we can't have there's no point in having more classes in here than we need to that wouldn't be safe.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the pros of having it online, though, have been that people can attend from anywhere in the world, which is not just like you have to be here in LA, you have to be in the studio. So that's a really cool aspect of it. We can also have class during the day for like half an hour during lunch. And if you don't have to leave your home and you're also working from home, like a lot of us are, you can just hop on and you don't have to sit through traffic. Right. And it's a lot more time efficient. So those are all some good things that have happened. But as far as aerial class, we can't do a whole lot online. So we've decided to shift our class offerings to things like conditioning. Flexibility is always going to stay. Things that are going to help us train to keep us strong for aerial when we can do it, but not endanger anyone's safety. We're also adding dance classes, which just never really worked at the studio for some reason. Everybody wanted to be up in the air. That was their specialty. Yeah. And suddenly, because we don't have that, it's like everybody's more interested in trying these other things without equipment, and it kind of adds like a cardio element. So we're a little bit more balanced. You get your flexibility, you get your conditioning. We do have a few pole classes that you can really only take if you have equipment at home. So we trust you to be safe with that. But even if we were to be here, we probably would never be able to spot each other until this whole pandemic is over. So we can't touch anyone anyway. Yeah. So it's become somewhat of a challenge and a good thing to help people be more independent, where we don't have to hold you up the whole time, and you have to be strong enough to be able to do it on your own and go a little bit slower. So we've managed to convert to some offerings that you can do anywhere. We have, workout classes with your couch. You can do it with a can of soup if you want to roll your muscles out. Like, we'll find things around the house if you don't have them. We're trying to keep it minimal equipment, but I think it's a really accessible way for everybody to hop on. However, realistically, as a business owner, it's not making me much money at the moment. There's a possibility for it to grow, but right now it's just keeping me from losing the money that I have, which is also a huge benefit. So it's been a challenging process to convert, but sort of realizing that it's going to be more permanent has made me pivot to a different mindset of, okay, what else can we do? How can we make it better? Because it's not going away anytime soon. And I think that's true for a ton of businesses everywhere around the world. So
in terms of liability wise, because you are teaching through your studio, how does that work, having to shift these classes to online classes? And considering, a lot of the art forms that you're teaching are pretty difficult, how are your instructors or the students insured? Like, how does that work?
So right now, our insurance covers the space. So I don't have anything liability wise that would cover each person in their home, except for a waiver. So I've created a new waiver where people sign in. You probably wouldn't even notice it, but you're electronically agreeing when you sign up to the class to be able to participate in the activities, and just taking into account that you are now in your own location. And that's a very important thing for everybody to address if you're going to be teaching online, because you have no control over that. And most liability insurance are only going to cover your place of business. You can't just have insurance that would cover anybody at any location at any time. So so my liability insurance would cover my staff and myself, and it would cover anybody in the space. But as far as students go, that's why you should think about updating your waivers as this goes on, and to the best of your ability, because things keep changing, and making sure, for example, when I do have people come in here to train, which I just started doing now that I've made a ton of safety improvements to the space, and I can only, I'm not even charging them. It's really just to train staff. I have a new waiver that make sure to mention, we are shut down due to COVID-19. When you enter the space, you're taking a risk, because it is an indoor space and it is my actual place of business. So definitely thinking about changing your legal language and finding a way for people to do it as they sign up. The easiest way for me, given that I have MindBody, which is the online software service, to be able to reserve classes, and most places use it. You can add a new waiver into that to create an electronic signature for whatever you need to update, so that everybody who's signing up officially on there. It's all recorded, and you don't have to have like a physical piece of paper. It's under their account.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good to know. Speaking of like online classes, there's so many people that are just doing all these free classes online, IG Live, Facebook Live. How has that affected your business? And has it affected your business at all?
It definitely creates more competition, but I think in the end, there is no service that's going to compare to in-person feedback. I mean, I thought a lot about I have some online tutorials, but I thought about converting it to that where you can just buy, 10 steps to get your splits or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be pre-recorded. But I realized what you get out of the studio here and what you get with the live Zoom format is that you have the teachers to be able to watch you. We do get to come in and be connected closely as we can, whereas a lot of these online workouts are like IG Live and things like that. In my personal opinion, you're not able to get the feedback. We're not able to see each other and like touch base. Even if I'm leading you in a workout, if somebody has a question, they can, unmute themselves and I can help them through it. Whereas, IG Live, you're just sort of watching and tuning in, unless they're, typing back and forth. And everybody's an individual. Like there's always been online workouts. There's always been stuff you could look up for free on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is you want that guidance and that in-person sort of experience. And I think even between studios, you're going to have students who prefer to take from certain teachers and they'll take them from whatever studio they're working from. And it mirrors that online as well. They're going to want to take class from their same teachers and their same community and their same studio, and maybe try out some others at the same time and do it all. So it opens it up. And that's always something that's been around. I don't think it's changed much. It's just, it's hard to ask people to pay more money for what I feel to be a less effective service, but I do think it's the safest and the closest we can come. And it is kind of exciting just to see each other again, especially in the beginning of quarantine when we were really on lockdown and nobody could visit each other. It's a nice way just to be able to connect. And I like this format. I think it's definitely transformed the entire fitness industry. However, there's always people who are going to find stuff for free, and there's always people who want to pay to be with their people in their studio to get the learning experience that they want to get personally.
Yeah, I think something that's really special about Jagged is that you've managed to create this community of people that all love to work out with each other, right? And create art with each other. And I think it'd be a really different story if you were brand new. If you were a brand new business and you just opened your doors, but you spent, like you said, over 6 years doing this.
Yeah. And I think,
you're very lucky that.
Oh yeah, I know. And I'm so lucky that I have a loyal client base and that it's not like even a gym that has a big client base, like an LA Fitness or something, they're going to have people walking in and out and passing by each other and never talking. Yeah. And because we do have a small boutique fitness and it's just one room and, we can only have so many people per class, people really get to know each other. So when the beginning of the business started, what I started noticing is people becoming friends and like walking out together. Oh, let's go get food. Even your class, after your class, we have people going to eat after, doing a little happy hour, getting some snacks, go to get coffee. And then all of a sudden I feel like the entire studio is friends on some level. And it makes me so happy. Like then I see them on Instagram and they're like kayaking together and like, who knows what they're doing, but it's really cool. So I think I'm lucky in that sense that a lot of people did stay online with me. I mean, not a ton, but enough to where, a few people were nice enough just to leave their account on because they wanted to support the studio and they had the means to, and they didn't even get to take class that much. But most of the members either converted to an online membership or kept their membership they had at the studio, and they just get unlimited access to all the classes, which is going to be actually a lot more workouts than you would have even been able to get in the studio. And because they all worked out together, it's still kind of like that when they come online. Like you're like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, haven't seen you for a while. Like if I'm like getting my water bottle and pulling over my mat to get ready to teach, if it's like, certain people like remember or know each other, they'll unmute themselves and just be having a little 5-minute catch up, like going and setting up whatever equipment they want to use, like a band or, grabbing their stuff. Or, sometimes I'll be like, if you have knee pads or pants, like go get them. And then I hear these little like background chats going on, and it makes me really happy. And it's just something you can't recreate. Even studio to studio, every culture is going to be slightly different with that. So it's good to see everybody online. It really does make me happy, even though I'd rather be here with y'all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what we're all craving, especially since we've been in lockdown for 5 months now. It's pretty insane. I mean,
and I don't know when it's gonna end.
And I mean,
it could go on until next year. I mean, probably will. It might.
I mean, you had like a psych, right? Like in May when they're like, okay, you're about to open, right? Was it July or May or July?
It was June. I had heard it on the wind, and then you hear all these things, and half the time it's not even true. But I had heard that they were getting ready to open up for phase 3, which is what gym salons, hair salons, nail salons, all those kinds of service businesses.
Yeah.
And it was June 1st, I believe, for California. But because we were so high in numbers in LA, they arbitrarily decided that June 12th was the day we were going to open. And I remember that week leading up to it, I think they were like as early as Friday, which was, I think, the 12th.
Yeah.
But it could, like they still didn't even have like a real date. And also I'm kind of like, you're making all these plans, but how is it that June 12th is like any better than June 1st? Like maybe the case numbers were going down, but they were still really high. Yeah. So I chose to stay closed. I was planning on opening. I was going to try to push it back to beginning of August. I wanted a month to see how it was going to affect with reopening, people getting infected. What are the issues that other businesses and other studios are coming up against with just running their protocol day to day. Yeah. And I was just like, I also had a moral sense of not wanting to endanger my staff or my students, and like nobody could really have an answer. It's not like I could just do extra research. So I just waited, and I thought I might have to open by the end of July just based on my own amended real estate contract with my landlord.
I see.
Because I included give me an extra 30 days from the time they say we can open, because then we have 7 pages of safety regulations that you have to go through. And I was like, I'm going to need time, even though I really didn't, because I had everything ready already. But I was like, I'm going to need time to like make sure the air conditioning is good, the air purifiers, and like everything I needed. And I kind of just made a decision like, okay, this is the day I'm going to do it. It was a month had gone by. Nobody seems to be experiencing too much trouble in the studios. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I guess we'll just see what happens and do it the most safe, responsible way we can. And the day I was about to announce it, email campaign ready, that was the day he announced at noon that we are shutting back down again. I was like, no.
And this was like
even then,
weeks, right? It's been over 3 weeks since they said, since the lockdown, right? They
I think it was on the Monday in mid-July. I think it's been over a month now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's been about a month.
3 weeks, but it's much longer now, which is the crazy thing.
They haven't even, I'm just like, until he says it, I'm not even going to listen anymore. Yeah. Because I'm trying to stay informed, obviously, as a business owner, and because I care.
Yes.
But the more I wait, and then, it's kind of like sifting through to see if they're going to give the okay. And I'm just going to wait until they do. Like the day they did, there was like 70 text messages coming into me like, you can open. I was like, I know, but I don't know if it's safe. I'm going to wait.
I know. Oh my gosh.
But I'm glad I didn't. Like, I feel so bad for most people started opening to some extent. I feel so bad for those that did, because the other thing is with reopening, I think we could only be at 25 to 50% the capacity, depending on, like for example, if I have a full room, I could probably have 20 people. If I have 10 poles and I have 10 people, I could have 2 per. That's kind of rare, but in here it'd be like, okay, now, because I wouldn't have anybody share equipment at all. I don't want anybody touching other people's stuff, so it can stay disinfected, unless like, if you're at a gym and you go and do the chest press and then 5 other people do the chest press thing, it's not really, to me, it's kind of gross right now. Yeah. It's like I don't want anybody touching each other's stuff. So I was like, realistically, I can have 10 people. but probably 9 give like 1 space to the instructor. So, you know, even then, if you think about that, that's cutting your income in half per hour, and it's insane. Like, you just can't do anything about it. I was making more money by being able to have people share apparatuses, but I was always kind of a stickler on not having like too many people or like too many hoops up at one time. But when you take that down and you cut it in half or by 3/4, and then you expect to make your same overhead, it's nearly impossible. But I just figure this is a temporary situation. It is gonna slowly go back. It might take a year or a year and a half to get fully back. I think we can operate with the safety precautions we have and slowly work our way there. Mm-hmm. But that just makes you think, as a business owner, whatever you're doing, how am I going to make more money other ways that don't involve me cramming a bunch of people into a room? Because it wouldn't, you know, it's an indoor space. They say we can do fitness stuff outside. What am I going to rig something to the clouds? Like,
I know.
Because then I can't have insurance. Like, if I go to the beach and just randomly say, okay, here we are, that's not actually my business space. Plus, I don't want people touching the same thing, even if we are outside. Some of these businesses back here posted up in the parking lot doing nails out there. I'm like, well, that's cool for you, but it's not really going to work for me.
Yeah, I think I noticed, I saw something on my social media this weekend. I think, did Be Spun bring a bunch of poles outside to the beach?
They did, yeah.
Doing that? Is it a class? Was it a jam? Like, what was
I honestly just saw that last night. Somebody had told me about it.
Yeah.
I think it was just a beach day where it was like a one-time event, and then they charged a price.
Like a workshop.
Yeah, I would say. I don't think they could do that legally.
Okay.
But, you know, but you can. I mean, like, it's up to you. It's at your own risk. It's kind of the same thing as doing a workout at home where you're going to sign my liability form, but I don't actually have liability insurance to cover you over there in your room.
I see.
So, but it protects me from being sued under my own business, I guess.
Yeah.
And the teachers.
You're protected under your roof, and that's.
Yeah. And through my business insurance, and it's under my name, like, I'd be protected as a performer.
Yeah.
For certain things, unless, you know, I'm sure you've encountered that. Like, if you're going to do fire or something at a corporate hotel, you're going to need a separate fire insurance just for the day of the event.
Yeah.
So, their beach thing, it was actually a cool idea, but I also don't know exactly how it went down, and I don't think it's technically safe for anybody to do that on any sort of a long-term functioning level.
Yeah, because just the setup of that takes so long. I mean,
imagine taking like 7 X stages down at the beach. God. They're all 150 pounds.
I can't even imagine that. I mean,
it's hot.
Have you considered taking aerial outside, like investing in an aerial rig of some sort? I mean, I've been training in my friend's backyard, thank God. So, so I'm one of the very lucky people that can train, because I have friends that have an aerial rig outdoors. Yeah. I mean, have you considered that as a business?
I've thought about that. I'm not sure, because I think technically I could put out a rig maybe in the parking lot, but it wouldn't really be safe. Yeah. Because the cars are there, you know, like.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it doesn't. Yeah. But I want to. I mean, I think at this point, I'm not allowed to open my business, but I am going to start allowing some private rentals and some like any shoots and things like that are private, that are more gig worker things that can be done in the space, because it's not going to count as a gym, and I'm only charging, like, you know, your hourly rental rate, and you can come in here and do whatever. Well, now I have like very strict safety protocols you have to follow, and I can't have, if it's like a shoot of one person doing a photo shoot or like an aerial apparatus, that's okay. But I can't have like 30 people up in here doing lighting and cameras and tech people, like that kind of a bigger shoot I can't allow yet. So all the specifics are very detailed. And if somebody wants to come train, I'm actually going to launch that this week. That's okay with me now. I haven't been doing that yet because we're not allowed to be open as a gym, but I can do private practice for if you're renting out the space, that's okay. And I've like set up little stations here
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, so for gym regulations, are you required to also have your apparatuses 6 feet apart? Is that the
Yes,
same?
that
Okay.
is a very
Okay. So,
important point.
yeah, so show me this the space and how you divide
Okay.
it up.
Yeah, so I am hooked in here, so I can't go too
Yeah.
far. But
Okay.
if you can see, this is actually good because I can show you.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a square. These are too small, but what I did is because I have a pole and an aerial apparatus every other beam.
Yeah.
Some tape squares are for a pole setup. Like if I
Mhm.
have two purple ones, like here's a purple one,
Yeah.
there's another purple one. That would be your aerial square, where you have at least
Got it.
you're in between a 6 by 9 square,
Got
which
it.
is actually more than you would need. And if you're doing the blue one, and then you look like right here is a blue one, and then there's a blue one every other one. That would be
Got it.
like an aerial square versus like a pole square, so that you can see, because everybody will get super confused if I don't clearly label it. Makes a little more sense when they're down, but that way you have your own, and I have like little crates in each square, so you can put your stuff right in the crate. Their cubby area will not exist. You
Yeah.
can rent one of our mats now because I'm not having everybody share them, or you can bring your own so
Uh,
that I can disinfect each one and put it back.
yes.
And then I have like individual alcohol spray bottles per crate and a towel, so everybody gets their own little space and doesn't have to go anywhere or touch anything. So, oh, and I have a little temperature check now. I'm excited. I just
Okay.
got a touchless one. I had an infrared, but I had to put it on people's foreheads, so I got a better one that you don't have to touch with. And then I just, when people come in, I do their temperature, give them a little hand sanitizer, and then they just go to their spot and stay there.
Yeah.
So I've spaced it out specifically. Luckily, I cared about space when I opened,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, I really want at least 6 feet between the poles, which is such a randomly, it happens to be the
So
same.
exactly 6 feet.
Yeah, but actually
Yeah.
width-wise, it's even longer. It's 9 feet apart between
Oh,
apparatuses, so you get extra room. And then we don't share anything. Everybody gets their own crash mat, which is kind of the same. Our little crash mats over there, and they each fit in the spaces of the square too. And then as far as aerial equipment goes, I pretty much just disinfect everything with rubbing alcohol because it evaporates, even the fabric, which I hope won't ruin the fabric over time.
yeah.
But I'm spraying them and then washing them between each
Mm,
use per person, because fabric, is more porous, whereas the other surfaces are hard. So yeah, it's everybody gets their own thing. Nobody touches it, and then it gets cleaned either with rubbing alcohol or with fabric. It'll get washed, and then it comes back. And then we have our little air purifiers to make sure that it's filtering the air, and it doesn't prevent the virus, but it actually breaks up clusters of them and makes it so that the air is always circulating
right.
instead of just like blowing through,
Still, yeah.
which apparently is becoming a super important thing to have.
And how about the ground? Because you do a lot of dancing and floor work. How are you keeping the ground clean?
The ground I have a steamer for, so it's the same thing I was doing, but it's just distilled water, but it heats up so much that it disinfects without chemicals. So,
Cool.
like for example, Swiffer cleans it, but actually steaming the floor is going to disinfect it a lot better. So it gets cleaned and steamed between each rental, or I only had like teachers training here so far.
Yeah.
But with the people that are going to come in for shoots or something, it will get steamed between each one. And if I do hopefully get to open for classes someday in the next year, it will have to be steamed between each and every class. It can't be like a bunch of classes and then at the end of the night. It's going to literally be every hour that there's something happening. So it's kind of intense, but I don't care. Like, I'm willing to put in the work because, I mean, we don't want to be taking chances to where like you end up being the one to, the last thing I would want to do is hurt anybody that is here, including myself, and we're around like our families and bring it back to other people. But it would also be really a bad look for a business too. Like, I wouldn't even want to risk associating or creating a risk like that. So it's all a risk though. It's just about managing it. And like I said, I'm definitely not allowed to operate. I can only do it for certain private rentals only.
Mm.
Can't do classes, can't have groups. I'm keeping it to, I think, 4 people max. So I have 4 aerial points. That'll only be a third of the room, even if there's a shoot. So
right. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you're able to do something with the space, at least for now. And, you know,
I just decided to do it. It's honestly not really necessarily allowed yet, except I'm not operating as a gym.
Yeah.
But I was on PUA, which is Pandemic Unemployment Assistance.
Okay.
It's the version of unemployment for self-employed people like me that have to be shut down due to the pandemic. It was fine with the extra $600 that we had on top of it that you've probably been hearing about.
Yeah.
You get like a minimum and then you get extra $600.
Yeah.
Now, as of the end of July, it ran out. And so now it goes down to $167 a week. And there's no way that I could live off of $167 a week. Like that would have barely paid my first, it's like half of my rent, if that.
Well, I wanted to get into that. What is that like? Were you able to work something out with your landlord, a brick and mortar business? Like, how is that working out for you?
Yeah, it's different for everybody. I don't even have my official agreement yet. Like they've stopped talking to me. And I think a lot of people I know are having the same issue getting a hold of their landlords, whether it's, you know, personal or commercial. Yeah. But I started off by offering them half rent and asked that when 2020 comes to an end, that I will start paying monthly over 2021, whatever I owe as the second half of the rent, thinking like, okay, if this is 3 months, then I'd be making an extra $340 payment on top of it, but spread out through the year, because there's no way. At first they were saying you can't be evicted, but you'd have to pay all of your rent back that you didn't pay for your business within 3 months of reopening. And so you would have 3 months of rent in an already shelled out business, plus have to pay back all of the rent you didn't pay for all of the months we were shut down, which would be double, if not triple, what you're normally used to paying. So it's like, if you make it through the shutdown, a lot of people would just go out of business trying to recover. So I decided to just create my own deal with them outside of what's allowed with the government. I didn't expect anything to help me. And luckily they were receptive. So they agreed to let me pay half for the first, I think I did that for the first 2 months of the shutdown. And then they came back to me and they were like, well, we'll just give you free rent for the shutdown, but you have to extend your lease another 3 years, which is a very unusual deal.
Interesting.
But I just renewed for 3 years. So that would be a whole 6 years for at the time what I thought was maybe 3 months. And I didn't find that to be a good value. So I eventually like knocked it down to, I'll extend it for a year because I would have done that anyway. And then I will get free rent and not have to pay it back, which is amazing. However, they were like, so when are you going to open? When are you going to open? Because, you know, we had that you can open moment. Yes. But I also wanted to stipulate, hey, if we shut down again, we go back to that with the same deal. And they haven't talked to me ever since. So they haven't been charging me rent. I don't know what's going to happen. They could easily at any day say, you have to pay everything. We don't care if you're shut down or not. Like they could easily sell the building. There's a lot that could happen. So that it's all very individual for every business. And that's just been my experience. And it's still like, who knows? I never got a signature. We were going back and forth with lawyers, but we got to that final stage. And for all intents and purposes, I haven't been paying rent. I asked that what I paid months ago, that I could apply that to when I open, so that I have a month and a half to get on my feet a little bit more before having to take over my full rent expense again. I mean, I still paid it myself, but I would much rather use it later than now, because right now is the easiest part. The hardest part is going to be recovering upon reopening.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very scary. That unknown, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like with that being said, like where are you finding support and like resources and community as a small business owner in LA? And were you able to apply for the PPP loan? And if you were, how was that process?
This year, let's see, they had also the AB5 law that I think is still possibly up in the air, but they are giving some leeway to time to convert your independent contractors to employees. So if everybody was an employee and they were all W-2s, then you can use the PPP loan, I think it's payment protection plan, to pay your employees. But I don't have any as of now, and also I don't pay myself. So I did apply for it anyway, just to see what would happen, because I don't have payroll anymore. I pretty much work by myself as far as running the business still, but you know, it's been a lot easier and better over the years. However, this only applied to me for $1,000 because I applied, it just automatically showed up in my account one day. I was like, oh, I did get it. But that's because they consider you as a business owner you get awarded $1,000 per employee or per person that you're paying. So they counted me as myself and just gave me that, which was cool. But even if I did get more of a loan there, most of it has to be used for that. And then there's economic injury disaster loan, EIDL, which is through the SBA. That loan I did get also, but it's been changing the whole time. Like at first, it was just a loan to help you with your business. Then it was saying, okay, well, only 25% of it can be used towards rent. The rest of it has to be used, again, to pay your staff.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, well, what I need it for is to keep the space. It's not for that. So I wasn't expecting anything, and then I got it. But I put it in a savings account. I hope I don't have to touch it because I do have to pay it back starting next year. They said, oh, it's $49 a week to pay, or a month to pay back for 30 years. I was like, okay, it is a really low interest rate. I think it's like 3.25 or something like that.
Okay.
But I'm trying not to use it. That's just like emergency funds, because even the amounts I get wouldn't cover me for a month. So I really have to be able to do it on my own. And so that there is some financial support. However, it's really shitty unless you have a ton of employees and staff.
Yeah,
it's not too helpful. And I don't want to go into a situation where I have to borrow money to put myself into a deeper hole. Like if it gets to that point where I need to do that and I'm still going to go out of business, I'd rather just walk away at that point and save myself financially, because it, you know, in the long run, it's not helping anyone, and then the studio would still close. So that's, and then I did put on the online showcase. I forgot, because yours really inspired me. You had your living room series.
Yeah, how that?
It was great. I actually, the first time, I think we made over $4,000, which was the most money I've ever made ever. Yeah, like I think like almost 90 people showed up. I thought it was going to be a one-time thing again, because I thought this was almost done. But I did it twice. The second time it was like way lower, but it still helped. And we also donated part of it to what was it called? Center for Policing Equity, to help with like a BLM cause. And we did some classes to donate for Black Mamas Matter. But as far as keeping the rest, to hold for the studio, because I got to take care of myself before I could donate stuff all the time.
For sure. And just so
that was really cool.
Yeah, just so you guys know what Jess is talking about, she held an online fundraiser on Zoom where she had like a DJ and people performed different dance and circus acts. You maybe can add to it.
Yeah, it was mostly people that actually go to the studio or that teach at the studio, or our friends that wanted to hop in. So it was all like a really nice community event for us to do, like a virtual showcase. And then the second half, we had a DJ for like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes just to dance it out like you did with your event. I thought it was really fun. So we would spotlight different people that were watching if they had their videos on, and it's kind of like being on the Jumbotron, and people are like, oh, the camera's on me, I gotta dance. So it makes it really fun. So you're more of like, not just a viewer, but you kind of become in the party, or in, you know, or becoming the performer in a way. So it was really successful, but I just asked people to donate if they could. I made it all free, so there was no barrier to entry. And beyond the money part of it, which is definitely being used for rent. It was a really heartening just spirit boosting event for everybody to perform. I can't believe that the performances people did, actually. I was shocked. We've all been, it's hard. We can't work out or practice aerial the same way. And people just like pulled stuff out of nowhere. And I was like, wow, this is like really good. Like, I want to watch it.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
I think it's because people miss performing. It's,
Yes.
like working performers like you and me.
And you.
I mean, it's crazy. I can't remember the last time I actually worked this year, because there's been no events, right? I guess going a little bit into that, like how is life as a performer? You're a small business owner, but you're also a performer. How's that like not being able to gig?
It sucks. Like, I think right before the shutdown, we were supposed to go to perform at Coachella. I had OptiTrack booked, like a really big tech company that
Cool.
They actually gave me a raise for like coordinating everything the last time we did it, and they were really pleased. So like that was going to be thousands and thousands of dollars in my pocket, like some of the biggest events I've ever worked, because all these years I've been able to hire teachers that perform that we all know. Yeah. And so I'm like bringing everybody with me, and I'm like, oh dude, we got a contract. Yeah. And Coachella is just fun, and I had like 2 or 3 other things lined up, and then just dead, like nothing. And they were hoping they could reschedule things. And I know you work all these big events too, and it's like not just the money, it's like that was a lifestyle. It gave you something to train for. You know, you get to go out and meet people and get all dressed up and just like perfect your craft. Because like while running a business and teaching is great, like I've started doing this because I love doing it myself selfishly. So it's like I get to just do that, and I get to help other friends get booked. And now there's really nothing. I mean, now there are some people that are asking me to do shoots, like to have performers do certain things, but I won't refer anybody unless I feel like it's safe or it's outside, or like, they have it worked out in a way that they're getting a shot of a specific thing. But that's been like, maybe twice somebody's asked, but it's hard. Like, I mean, and then you had me do something online with a DJ, and that was really fun. But it's still like, I'm still in a room alone. Like, it's like fun jamming and you are performing in a sense, but it's not the same as being at a venue or like
Coachella. I mean, I feel like as a performer, you work so much off the energy of the audience and the people around you. It's definitely very, very different. Hosting a lot of these Zoom parties in quarantine, we're actually able, I don't know if you know this, but we're actually able to even just take like a recorded set and post it, and people will think it's live. So that makes it a lot easier, but it's just not the same type of energy,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
a pre-recorded set, It's like,
it's definitely not. Yeah, it's not the same at all. But I, as far as like the future, I don't think we're gonna have anything until, I think people will start to figure out though, like people like you who are doing innovative stuff also. But I've seen, they're starting to have like drive-through comedy shows, and I saw some random, I don't know where it is, but it was on a lake somewhere, and they had like floaties where everybody was far enough apart, so they were all in the water like watching a movie, and I was like, that's freaking awesome. Like, that's a really cool idea. So I think people will probably, I hope, come up with ideas where, we can perform up in like a glass go-go box or something and be protected from people and be safe, or even if we have to perform with masks. And let me tell you, have you tried working out with a mask on? It is hard.
It is so hard. It is so, and are people going to have to wear masks at your studio when you start?
Absolutely. Yeah. I forgot to mention that. Everybody is not, no one is allowed to take a mask off. Like if you're breathing hard and you need a break, you got to go outside. Like, which is fine. I have to actually slow down when I've been training with the teachers, so like everybody can understand what it's like. I'm like, remember, like when we do get to open, we have to let the students take a lot of breaks and like go really slow. The classes are going to be shorter anyway because I got to clean, and everybody will have their own space, so it's not like you got to wait turns. But in being that and knowing that each person gets their own hoop the whole time, or their own pole, they already die when that happens in regular class. So I'm like, we have to really remind people. And I mean I'm like sucking in my mask, like I get used to it. It's a lot easier now that I've done it for a few weeks, but I'm still like, if I'm really straining, getting out of breath. and I just feel like I'm sucking in fabric and I can't really get a good breath. I just have to like lay there and be calm, or go outside. But inside the studio, everybody has to have a mask on at all times, unless it's me, like right now by myself and there's nobody in here and I'm cleaning afterwards. But when people are coming in, even if I'm by myself, I'll have my mask on and make sure like I'm not breathing on anything before it gets cleaned.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people just get used to it at that point. You know, it's like training at high altitudes in Colorado or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like our lung capacity is gonna be so baller after this.
So baller. I know. And like, I think people will be willing to give that up to be able to see some humans.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe I almost envision, this is like some weird space future thing. I almost envision like, what if everybody got in a little elevator or something and there's like a dance floor and you just pop up into your own little individual box that's like connected to your air conditioning or something. Yeah, like I feel like everybody could dance in like their own little plexiglass thing.
Well, you know, in Europe, I forgot where in Europe last week, they just had their first concert, like social distance concert, where they had these little pods. Like it's imagine going to Coachella at the main stage, but everyone has like their own little pod 6 feet apart and they have to stay in that space. I actually don't know how they're funneling people to their pods or like if they have to go to the restroom, what they're doing. But I just saw a picture of this large field with all these little pods and that seemed really interesting. I'd love to kind of just hear how that went. I could totally see LA doing that.
Yeah, I feel like we'll find a way, like outdoor stuff. And I think in that sense, they may start hiring performers to do maybe solo acts or like, you know, double stuff where you're with somebody that you train with by yourself or, you know, I can't imagine them having any like elaborate group sort of a performance, but I could definitely see them booking like solo acts again. I hope. I really miss it. Even 77, the little bar, you know, the bar that I perform at once a month, or used to, but they became my little bar family and it was just like a very chill, nice place to go. And they were like, you know, when we do start up again, we don't even think we can have like DJs just because of the way that they're set up and it's a very small room, not because it would be impossible. But they can't lose tables because they already had to like space them out so far. And then they can't have people pass, like everybody has to stay seated. They're like, the only thing we can really put in there like is the pole act because it creates a 6 foot radius and you'd have to wear a mask, but like nobody would be, you know, they don't want to encourage people to get up and dance. They actually want everyone to stay seated. Because if you have a DJ or like a live band, you're creating that environment where people are like, oh, you know, like they want to come onto the dance floor and then nobody's allowed to right now. So weirdly, I was like, oh, they said we would be one of the first things that they would bring back. But we'd have to wear masks and like we'd make cute ones like part of the costume and maybe like bondage or like little nurse masks or something.
Oh, that's cute. I like that. I have some friends that are performers from out of state and I'm already seeing that they're starting to get booked, but you know, it's mostly aerial acts that are far away from audiences already, kind of similar to
cool.
or like fire dancing. I've seen some fire dancers. For obvious reasons, you're not gonna be close to a fire dancer. That's cool. I mean,
that gives me hope.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming back, and especially in states that have already lowered their cases and flattened their curve. I'm already seeing some performers get back to work. So I have hope for LA. I have hope for California.
Yeah, I think like we're going to be on the slow track just because we have such a big population here. And we have so many cases just because it's a huge state and we have all these metropolitan areas where we're like really close together. But I do think that LA is going to be one of the most creative places to figure this out. And I think my biggest worry is just like with the exorbitant amount of rent you have to pay here just for people in general. And for businesses, it's going to be really hard, I think, for a lot of places to recover. But I think, you know, just me having to formulate this online thing, while it's not like I worked really hard to get the studio where it is, and it was in a good enough place I could finally take a vacation after 6 years for no reason, you know, like stuff that seems really normal to most people, I had to work my ass off for. The online isn't as good, but I'm glad I have dipped my hands into other things,
Yeah.
or even performing or events and things like that, because who knows how long any one thing will be around or how we're going to have to adapt it or incorporate our other skills.
Hmm.
So, I've, I would fight to this place at the end. I'm not letting go of it, but I'm also realizing like it may be really hard for anybody to survive that has like retail space or commercial
Yeah.
space,
Hmm.
and that I have to be prepared to do other things, or to, I mean, I'm really just trying to stockpile what I have left and just like try to like add a little bit of money if I can and like keep it from hemorrhaging. But
Yeah.
at some point you just have to survive. Like I think
Right.
everybody who's not working from home that like got to keep their salary, like a lot of the stuff that you were doing was probably like depends on the event or depends on what you're getting, you're getting freelance out to do.
Right.
It fluctuates, so it's hard to budget or to know. And when I'm in this position of like, hey, you get 167 a week but you're not allowed to operate your business, I'm like, okay, well then I'm going to start finding my own little loopholes and hoping it's okay. Like this renting stuff out, I'm like, it is my little loophole, but I have no other choice,
Yeah.
so I'm going to do it. I have some money that I didn't get from like earlier in the process that I'm getting now, and I was already living off of like bare minimum, so that's great because I'll be fine for a little bit
Right.
before that 167 really starts to get to me. But I'm realizing I gotta step up my hustle now in a way that's
Yeah.
not dangerous to anyone.
And being responsible, right? And it's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's so tough being a small business owner right now. I know you mentioned a couple of ways that the community can help out, but what else can we do?
I think I mean, if you know me,
Yeah.
uh, any donation to the space is great, whether you want to Venmo or PayPal or, just come take a class online, like wherever you are. And for any of your businesses that that you don't want to see disappear. Because I think, I mean, especially for me, I don't like asking for help. I like to just do stuff. I'm very open about what's going on here, but I have a hard time doing that. And I think a lot of business owners have a hard time asking for help.
Yeah.
So if there's like a restaurant you really like, order takeout from them. If there's a studio you really like, either use their services, or if you don't have time to go do everything all the time, just send them a donation. If you want to support me, even if you want to just tell people about the classes we have online, or if you're looking for a space to practice because you don't have your own equipment, I'm starting to open it up to that. So anything like that will help monetarily. But also some businesses may need help. Like they're like, I need to clear out the space so I can put in this new filter. You might ask a friend if they need some help that way. But other than that, yeah, just continued support.
Mm-hmm.
Take the
Right.
services.
On a side note, if you have an American Express, I don't know if you guys know this right now, but if you make a purchase to a small business on Amex right now, they're giving you $5 back for every purchase. Yeah,
Wow, that's cool.
every small business. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Amex,
Yeah,
stepping up the game. I
I
wish I
know.
had one now.
Yeah,
Guys, go get
exactly.
an Amex card.
Yeah, spread the news because that's huge. That's huge.
That's dope. Yeah, that's amazing.
Hmm. And so, okay, so how do people contact you? How do people find you?
Yes, you can contact me through the website for the studio, which is jaggedvdf.com. That's jagged, V as in vertical, D as in dance, F as in fitness.com.
Perfect.
There is an email on there. All the emails go to me, so I'll be the only one reading them. You can also follow us on Instagram at jaggedvdf, or you can follow me personally at Jagasaurus, JAGGASAURUS.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Jess. And I'm excited that you're opening back up, and hopefully you'll be able to get those classes going again soon. Those
Yeah.
in-person classes going again soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. And when we do when we do have in-person classes, if and when, we are going to keep the online and possibly just move them earlier or something. So those of you who are still on there, don't worry, they're not going away anytime soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Okay.
so much for your time, Jess.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
Soon.